The Cognitive Theory of Multimedia Learning and Industrial Design Techniques for Reducing Extraneous Processing by Jocelyn Lynn. Hello, my name is Jocelyn Lynn. I'm a graduate student with Wright State University getting my master's degree in Industrial Design and Digital Learning. I'm also a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher at a community charter school focusing on African American history and social justice. Today we'll be learning about the cognitive theory of multimedia learning and its instructional principles. In the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, or CTML, there are 5 theory-based instructional design techniques used to reduce extraneous processing. Extraneous processing, similar to extraneous cognitive overload in the cognitive load theory, refers to the way content is presented. So it's not connected to the content itself, but it is regarding the distractions that affect the learner's ability to store information in the working memory. The 5 theories of CTML that can reduce this type of extraneous processing are the redundancy principle, where you use graphics and narration only. So when dealing with CTML, we will eliminate text entirely and work with only graphics and narration. The signaling principle, where cues or signals like errors or indicators are used to direct the learner's attention. The coherence principle, which is removing any extraneous material or distractions to the learner. Spatial contiguity principle, when text and images are paired closely together. And finally, the temporal contiguity principle, where animation and narration are used simultaneously, similar to a cartoon or video. The goal of learning is to achieve knowledge transfer or meaningful learning. So the learner should be able to store, recall, share, and apply what they've learned. We want to do this with the least amount of mental effort, so the learner should strive for more than just rote learning. We want to transfer that information from the working memory, which focuses only on memorization, into the long-term memory where it can stay permanently. With the help of these instructional principles, we reduce extraneous processing to make learning easier and more meaningful. For the sake of this assignment, I will focus only on 3 of these principles. So let's start with the signaling principle. Mayer's signaling principle says that learning will be more deeply obtained from multimedia content that has signals or cues of where the learner should direct their attention first, second, last, and so on. The mind will attend to the information that gets attention first, so it's important that the instructor uses proper signaling to direct the attention of the learner to what's most important. Signaling or the use of arrows or cues like text structure have proven to help the learner organize the learning material and prepare for integration into the long-term memory, or again, achieving meaningful learning. Spatial contiguity principle says that the learner will learn more deeply when the text is close to the image it's speaking about. This helps the learner organize what they're looking at and process the information with minimal interacting elements. When the image on the left is viewed, the details are clearly labeled as opposed to the image on the right, which leaves the learner confused about what should be attended to first. According to Meyer, spatial contiguity is an effective load-reducing principle that will remove the need for scanning the image for clues. The coherence principle says a learner learns more deeply when extraneous materials are removed. Extraneous material refers to any content that's not relevant to the lesson. So fun facts and anecdotes are considered extraneous materials that hinder this load-reducing principle. You don't want to create extraneous overload by forcing the learner to process more information than necessary. So this principle suggests removing anything that will get in the way of the learner selecting the correct information to organize and integrate into long-term memory. The coherence principle of CTML says that you should limit your essential materials to images and text only. This will reduce distractions or extraneous processing, allowing only the important information to process. Okay, class. Today we'll explore the route of the transatlantic slave trade, and I want everyone to label each continent or country and what goods were traded between them. So follow along and make sure you have your pencils. We're going to do this together as a class. The very first continent is Africa. This is where slaves were exported from in exchange for money, arms, and other goods and spices. So where you notice the arrow here, mark that continent as Africa and go ahead and put the items that were exchanged with these people. You're going to write that in the lines right below the image on the lines labeled Africa. The next continent is the Americas. That would be North and South. The slaves that were trafficked to America were then forced into servitude as field workers. They harvested things like tobacco, sugarcane, and cotton. If you notice the arrow there to your left, pointing directly to the continent of America, you're going to go ahead and mark the goods that were exported out of America on the line labeled America all the way at the bottom there, right below. The final exchange was done when those raw materials harvested by the slaves, the tobacco, the sugarcane, the cotton, were traded with Great Britain by Americans in exchange for finished goods, things like arms or more guns, textile, and coffee. All right, notice that the arrow is pointing directly at that continent. Label that continent and name it Great Britain. Also, make sure you message at the very bottom there the services and goods that were traded with that particular country. All right, let's go ahead and get ready for week 1 vocabulary. Go ahead and take out your graphic organizers. We're going to go over the vocabulary words from our novel Copper Sun. Remember, when you use your graphic organizer, you want to make sure you put the term in the first section. You want to draw an image or a symbol or something that will help you remember that term in the middle. And then you want to go ahead and write the definition on the last section. All right, the very first term is kente cloth, a Ghanaian textile made of hand-woven cloth, silks, and cotton. Cassava, a starchy tuberous root of a tropical tree used as food in tropical countries. Fufu, a dough made from boiled and ground cassava used as a staple food in parts of Western and Central Africa. All right, so today we're going to look over the very popular song Lift Every Voice and Sing. Oh, I do apologize, guys. That wasn't supposed to start yet. Alright, so the song Lift Every Voice and Sing was originally a poem written by James Weldon Johnson in 1900. It was composed by his brother J. Rosamond Johnson into what we call the Negro National Anthem. I want everyone to listen to this song and take note of the cadence and the language. We'll then compare and analyze the song along with the Star Spangled Banner. I want you also to listen to that song and pay close attention to the language and tones of this piece as well. Please wear your headphones when playing both songs. We just want to eliminate any distractions, similar to what just happened when I accidentally hit the audio button on my slide. Alright, so just make sure that you wear your headphones, listen to those 2 songs, and take notes in your composite notebook. We'll check back in just a couple of moments and see how everyone did.